Hello. I wanted to try to do a video where I talk about the existing versus tutorials that are on YouTube or probably whatever else online. They're mostly focused on like general game knowledge, but I wanted to do something that was like, map knowledge. The only videos that I know of in this sort of vein are some ones by L4D2, and those were for No Mercy 2, and they're perfectly good videos. So I thought I would do the next most popular campaign for Versus, which would be Dead Center. I will say that the stuff that I say in this video will be mainly for Valve servers. If you're playing on like Confoggle or whatever, then not much of this will apply. So a common thing that comes up is pistol or melee. I think that both of them have their uses. The pistol is obvious, it's range. That's obvious. But the melee might not be. The thing about melee is that it will instantly kill almost any infected. The only exception is a charger if you hit the body. But if you hit a charger in the head, then it will instantly kill a charger as well. And that can really save you in some situations. And also, sharp melee weapons, which includes the crowbar, are able to cut smoker tongues, which is another way that you might be able to save yourself from certain bad things. But you should try to have at least one of each on your team. Because if you have like all melee or all pistols, then it can be kind of iffy. Some people say that you should try to go for 2 pistols and 2 melee. This is going to be a hot take, but I say that you will always want to pick up a Magnum over regular pistols if you can find one. And you'll see why later. So, for infected, something that you want to think about is doors. Doors are a sort of barrier that the survivors can easily manipulate. They can close it and open it whenever they want, pretty much. And for infected, that's just not what you want, because they can just shut a door in your face, and then you basically can't do anything. So if you have some free time at the start of the round, you can just go and break down some doors. This one is good to break down. The rest of these in this area, not really that important. Not really important at all, honestly. And this door is like the main door. Like, you might go and break these other two if you're trying to help a teammate set up a death charge, which I'll talk about later. I'll talk about death charges later. But yeah, those 3 are the ones that people usually break. But, doors are bad for infected, as I just said. So I like to also go and break some of these other ones. And, you can give this task to basically anyone except a smoker and charger, because those 2 have other things that they need to be doing. So anyone else, really, just only send one person to do this. Just anyone else can go and break these doors, except Hunter can break these doors very quickly by just pouncing into them. The trick to this though is that you have to like back up a bit after you hit the door for the first time. Because if you just go like that and then pounce again, okay, never mind. I could have sworn that was something you had to do. That's embarrassing. Anyway, and if you're coming by here to break doors, then also go ahead and move this thing out of the way. Helps death charge that I'll talk about later. This door, not very important. This door, like, yeah, not really important. This one, you can break. This one, worth breaking. This one, worth breaking if you actually bother to come all the way down here. And yeah, the last door that you should bother to break. Do this one last after you break every other door that you decide you want to break. All you have to do to break this one is just claw it a single time, and this turns on this fire. And this fire is really good if you can get it on, because when the survivors move through these two sets of fire, they take 10 damage for each set of fire. So by turning this on, you turn what was initially 10 damage for each survivor into 20 damage. Might do something for you. And it can also just create opportunities that you might not have known were going to exist. So a thing for you to know is that there are no tanks or witches in the first half of this map. There aren't any until you get past the elevator, like halfway through-ish. So now let's talk about death charges. A death charge is a charge that just instantly kills you. And there are plenty of them on this map. And the first one is when you're standing like around here-ish, and the charger comes this way and takes you out there. Very helpful if you can get a smoker or jockey to help you keep a survivor in place. Many people will have a smoker waiting in here so they can grab someone as they're coming by, and then a charger will be waiting in here, and bap. When you're approaching this area, you need to be looking out for that smoker there, because it's a really easy way to get screwed, and I see a lot of new players not know about it, and they just die immediately, and then they disconnect. This room might be worth checking, usually is worth checking actually. It's one of the places where you can find a magnum around here. And sometimes there's stuff in here too. I like to check in here. There can be plenty of stuff in here. I think I've seen like up to 3 things on this bed at a time actually. And over here, there's usually something good. A katana is better than an axe or a crowbar because it swings very fast. And of course, it's another place where you can find a magnum. So then, come out here. This is technically a death charge, but it's extremely precise as far as I've seen. Actually, I've only seen this like happen like once or twice ever. It's really hard to line up, so I don't really worry about this one, but you know, it could happen, and people tried to go for it, but I really don't think they should. I should also add, when you're infected, you can just jump off the side of the building and you'll just die, and you can get a new infected easily. And you can use that to get certain things, whatever you need, a smoker, a charger, or whatever. But you don't really do that once you actually start the round. It's not really a good idea to spend 20 seconds just committing suicide, obviously. And this here is also a death charge, by the way, so be careful not to stand in the path of this window. And here we have the first place where things go majorly wrong. Very often people will have a smoker waiting down there, and they just jump down here from like here. Well, let me go to. Okay, well, I mean, obviously they do this as a ghost, but you just go down here like that. It's really easy. Of course, you can't do that as a survivor because there are like invisible walls here of some sort. So don't try to jump down here as a survivor. But anyway, yeah, smoker here is a very common thing. You'll almost always see this. And when the survivors are coming by, you just bloop, and they're instantly hanging on a ledge. It can be a very bad situation for them. But people overestimate this slightly. It is extremely dangerous to let a smoker get you here. And I'll talk about how to avoid the smoker later. But the thing about hanging people on this ledge, unless you have other infected on your team ready to go and like capitalize on whoever is going to be stuck next to the ledge trying to pick up the first survivor, then they're just going to pick up the survivor and you're not really going to actually have accomplished anything. So if your spawns are not ready for this, don't really bother doing it. The way that you avoid the smoker here is very simple. Of course, when I was down there before, you saw that you could see this spot, but if a smoker pulls you from here, you just kind of go like this, and then you're just kind of there, and you don't actually hang on the ledge. So this is a lot safer than, you know, what could possibly go wrong hanging over there. So yeah, just bloop. That's it. That's the whole thing. I don't know why the fire looks weird. And when I say go here, I mean go here. Do not go there. Do not go there. Do not go there. Do not go there. And do not go there. You go here. Not there. The only reason you would ever consider not going like this into here is because of the fire. And obviously the fire will hurt you for a tiny bit. Big deal. Like, that's basically no damage. I will happily take 5 damage walking through this. 2. That was 2 damage. 2 damage to avoid hanging on a ledge and everything going wrong. And in case you're not familiar with how this map goes in Versus, which is probably why you're watching this video, everything will go wrong if you get hung here. If you're a jockey, you can jump up here, and you can do a little surprise attack. That's something that you can do, but it's not really that good. And you can even go all the way over to here, but that's all. You can't get in the spawn room from there, so it's just kind of pointless. It's a little funny. And Hunter can also get up here. This, out these two windows, is another death charge. Oh, yeah, and this ironing table, or whatever it's called, it'll be like slightly in the way of doing this death charge. So if you're coming by here, move it out of the way. Unless the charger like corrects for the thing about this is that it will push the charger slightly to the right. So if this is in the way, then the charger has to like slightly correct to the left. But it's just not really a good idea. Like, it's not very common that you will adjust correctly. Any amount of time that you spend on this ledge, really, you're a death charge. Could be a death charge. This one in particular, you can actually avoid this one if you have a magnum, because if you have one, then you can wallbang this wall. And that's why I say the magnum is always the better choice. Here is another death charge, but this wouldn't really happen. Not usually. This is another death charge, but it's, again, it's not really a common one. Technically get death charged out of this window, but I don't think I've ever seen that happen. This one, death charge. That way, also a death charge, but not really common.
Back down the stairs.
This is a death charge. So, now to talk about that fire, right? Yeah, when you go through the fire, you take 10 damage at least. That's if you don't get, like, stumbled into the fire or some other thing happens. And obviously, if you're on low health, then you'll move slower, so you might take even more damage from the fire. But usually you're not that low on health at this point. If you are extremely low on health, then you could consider going out onto this ledge and out like this, and you can just avoid all of the fire. But usually it's just risky, except this is usually not a risk that you need to be taking, so just don't take it. So usually this one will not come into play, but sometimes I like to, instead of spawning on the lower ledge, I actually spawn the smoker up here. And there are some reasons you would want to do this. One is that if the survivors are coming out here, then you can grab them like you would if you were down there and they were here. It's the same thing. You just instantly hang them. If you spawn here while the survivors are on this top ledge, then they will probably just come over and shove you off. But there is... I put him in a bad place. One thing that you could do to escape them, you have to it's not exactly free. It's kind of precise, but you can just drop down there, because you can get some slightly better angles on the survivors if they're over in that room. Yeah, if somebody was standing like there, then you could pull them down to there. Maybe do something like here. I don't know. I've only ever done this one like a couple of times, honestly, because it's just not very common that you are in a situation where this makes sense to do. Another thing that you can do as smoker, but usually would not, because you just wouldn't be in the situation for it. You could do a smoke from here when the survivors are coming down this hallway. You can get them and trap one in the fire. And you could also do the reverse from this side when they're coming this way. But usually that doesn't make sense to do. Like, just most of the time you would be doing something on the ledge. If the survivors are coming into this area and you're a smoker and there's no teammates for you to do anything else with, you can go over here and just do a very cheeky pull through this fire. But it's very rare that you can do this. I've never actually managed to do it. And I don't know exactly where you can stand here. I guess we'll find out. Okay. So that's not very good. It's a very limited smoke. If you have nothing better to do, then you can do that. This here is another death charge. And it's the last one on the map. So I should say a note about how you do a death charge. The most important thing is that you make sure you're lined up with the window. That's what you have to do first. Then you wait for the survivor to come into your line. You know what I mean? You probably already know this, but unless you're using certain networking settings that you can only access with the console, you have to aim ahead of survivors in order to actually hit them. Like, obviously, since they're, you know, the charger doesn't just instantly go, you have to aim ahead somewhat, but you have to aim more ahead than you would initially think. It's just something that you'll have to get used to. And the same thing goes for Hunter and Jockey. There's plenty of stuff that you can get in this area. This is one place, stuff here. There can be stuff in there. I think there can be, oh, yeah, there's something at least. But usually people don't bother to check over here. Just kind of come through here like this. There can be something here too. Check that, check that, check that. Check that. Ooh. See, people always tell me that this one doesn't have anything. See, it does. Anyway, but don't waste any more time in here than you need to. Just as soon as you got everything out there, just come in here, press the button. Don't waste your time doing whatever dumb thing you think you're gonna do with the infected. Just go in, or else I'm going to shoot you. So normally you shouldn't be down here while you're spawned before the survivors reach this place. If they close the elevator door before you can attack them up there, then it's better to just respawn than come down here through this. It's just better to not make a sound when you don't need to, of course, but do be careful that you don't go into where the fire will end up. This fire does not actually appear until the elevator is coming down here, but the damage trigger for it that lights you on fire will still be active the entire time. Okay, I don't know why that took that long. I'm not sure how that works. With the time it takes for this elevator to move down, all of the infected will most likely have their spawns ready to go. If you hear a special infected burning, then you can wait out for them to die. This elevator is a special kind of place, and spawn rooms and safe rooms are also the same way, where spit that lands inside the special area will not spread. But if you land a spit like right here, then that will spread inside, and it can be really bad. I think spit can cover the entire inside of this if it's right here. Or maybe that's only the elevator in map 4. I'm not sure, but I don't really like to wait to find out. You know, I prefer to just get out of the elevator. There can be stuff in here, so just look that way. A common smoker thing is to wait here and then drag someone into this fire. If you get boomed, try to stand behind fire so that the infected will run into the fire and they just kill themselves for you. It's very easy. So yeah, at this point, witches and tanks can start spawning. Witches will usually just kill themselves though, because they'll walk into the fire, and yeah. Also, you can find shotguns in here, but I don't really recommend it. There can be a health kit in here most of the time, I think. Maybe it's all the time. So, if you get a tank anywhere in this whole place, I say you should back up all the way to this hallway. Because taking a tank in here is just not, it's just not great, in my opinion. Out here, you could take a tank here, but like, for whatever reason, it just never really happens. So yeah, back up all the way over to here, and as the tank is coming down the hallway, you shoot it. And you kind of just can't really do anything unless the SI make something happen. If you're playing this tank, wherever you're playing this tank, it's really important that you don't let them get past you, because they survivors in this map, they will love to get past you, because they're just like, oh my god, we can't kill the tank, we only have 4 SMGs. Oh, it's kind of dumb. But anyway, but if somebody does get past you, just forget about them. They're gone. Do not chase them, because then you're just throwing it all away. Like, survivors that are not as far into the map are more valuable, and they're more likely to actually convert into kills when you down them. People that you kill that are further ahead, you might be able to catch them, yeah, but the rest of the team will eventually catch up to them, and they can save them or defib them. So it's not really worth chasing people, and you're just giving the rest of the team space to move up and get more points. But there is one very, very, very cheeky thing that you can do if you're happen to be here as a tank and a survivor is there, and that's this. As a survivor is coming through this way over to the safe room, which is over there, you can throw a rock through here, and maybe that'll let you get a kill. Maybe. But yeah, usually you just let the rest of your team handle that. And you could also get a smoker through here, but you usually, well, the only time that would ever maybe make sense to do is if you were grabbing somebody over here and the survivors just all ran and left this person who was over here behind, and then you could go grab someone there. But it's not a very common thing, and intentionally going from like over there or whatever all the way back through here is just kind of wasting your spawn, because like you just don't have the time to set this up normally. And also you cannot go through here as infected or survivor, so don't try to. You have to go around. Depending on where the survivors are, you can use this little wall thing as a place to spawn behind. So people like to go through this fire sometimes, and it is okay to go through this fire, but you have to be aware that this fire is more deadly than like any other fire in the map. I think like it's like double the amount of damage, I think. I'll look at it later. If you're playing infected, you can take advantage of this. You can spawn with smoker either here or behind this pillar, and then you can smoke a survivor into this fire. And okay, well, it usually doesn't go quite like that, but they'll get stuck in the fire and it'll hurt them really quickly. If somebody goes down in this fire, you need to get them up very quickly or they're going to die. If you have adrenaline, you should use it. And you can also do the same thing with the fire up there. When the survivors are coming through this area, you pretty much don't have any chance of doing anything meaningful at that point. But you can try to spawn around these pillars, get some desperation kind of plays. But they can block that for the most part by just also having somebody stand on this side of the pillars, and you can't really do much about that. There is this pillar though, this big chunker. Most people don't think about this at all. They're just like, this whole area is completely flat. Yep. Which is understandable, but if you're a jockey or a smoker, taking someone over to this area and shielding yourself behind this pillar can really mess with people, because they just don't expect this. And like when you're standing from over here, you can barely tell that pillar is there. So here we have a situation where all of my teammates left for whatever reason, and I'm just all alone facing 4 survivors, and they have plenty of healing available, plenty of health. Everything's going their way at this point. But then I get the tank down here. A lot of people just kind of think that this tank is like impossible to beat or something, I don't really know, and they just think you have to run immediately. So here I start a charge as I'm getting switched to the tank, and the thing about that is that the charger bot, when it takes over the charger, it will continue the charge, but it will redirect it to whatever place it thinks it should go, and in that case it ended up being very helpful. And then there's Ellis running away from his team for no good reason. And then Rochelle just downs Nick. And yeah, this looks pretty wrapped up. I mistakenly assume that Rochelle will die in the fire, and then I try to get the cheeky rock through there, but it's not really necessary. And then I end up killing these two easily. And look at that final health, 800. 800, that's a few seconds of shooting with the SMG. If Ellis just didn't run away, then he could have killed me, and this was easily savable, but no, he's just dumb, and he was probably like, see, I told you we should have run. So I just wanted to say one more thing about death charges, which is that they happen. They happen, and you have to learn to deal with that. Sometimes you or your teammates are going to get death charged, and that's just it. It's not a reason to disconnect or call a restart vote or jump off the map yourself. Just live with it. It happens. Death charges happen. That's why you go for them. Don't be a baby. Like, if somebody is, walking into one that they really ought to know is there, then you might kick them, but that's it. So then in this map we have a lot of fences. Boomer, Spitter, and Smoker can all attack through fences, which can make some interesting situations for them. A common thing is a Smoker over here can smoke somebody when they're coming out here. And yeah, they can... Smoker here can be really good. Assuming that the other survivors are, not just going to instantly shoot it, because, I'm just explaining the basics of sinking, but, they have to be occupied with other things, and otherwise they're just going to shoot the smoker, and it's not really going to do much. That's just sinking. Anyway, Spitter can also be good over here, although usually it's just Smoker over here. Boomer, not really good over here. The usual spot for everybody else is up there. When the survivors are coming out of here, this applies to like all first hits, but you want the survivors to come out of the safe room a little bit before you actually go in. Otherwise, if it's just like you go in the instant one guy steps 1 foot out, they're obviously just going to go back in, and then, it's generally very hard to attack survivors in a safe room because they only have to worry about looking at one place, and you all have to go through there, and it's just not really good. So just wait for the survivors to come out a little bit. Some people hide in this palm tree. I don't really know if this is actually good or not. I'm not really decided one way or another on it, but you do have to look out for that. It's not a very common thing, but yeah, worth looking up there. Look up there, and over here. There's some stuff over here, often. There might be something here. There might be some stuff in here, and in that truck thingy. Usually after the first hit, the infected will get their respawn timers up right around here when the survivors are going by around here, and they'll do a second attack like this, like right as they're going through this doorway. It can be a very good place actually, because especially with spit, like you can just spit on this doorway and separate them very easily.
shots.
Cover me, please.
From about in this little road and inside that building, survivors will usually back up onto this road to take a tank, because taking a tank down here or in there is just too cramped. And of course there are some hittables. There's a car and a dumpster on this road, but it's still better than being in there where you have like 2 feet to move around. And you can back up all the way back here. In competitive games, people will back up all the way over to here, which makes it harder to get the hittables from over there, and I guess this one too, I think, into there. And it forces the tank to walk for longer to get over there, so the tank will have less rage at that point. But usually people don't do that in pubs. People don't usually back up over to here. I don't really know why you would. There is this little like grating that you could shoot a tank through, I guess. I don't know. When you're coming through here as infected, it's hard to see this ladder here when you're a ghost. But when I go to spawned, it's pretty easy to see. So be aware of that. It's a very useful ladder because this can be another good area to attack. There is up here, this little billboard. Could be a nice place to get a pounce, but it's not really that useful otherwise. These bush shrub thingies, a smoker can stand in these and smoke somebody, and they can be very hard to see. Might be good in some situations. In order to get to the middle one over there as a smoker, you have to go over here and like that. So people usually don't go over here because it's just too risky walking along here when you're already going to have to be spawned. When the survivors are going over this dumpster here, that can potentially be a good place to attack. Although people don't really like to do it because of something that I'll mention later. But technically, it's sort of a mini death drop is what people call it. Some people call them one-ways as well. Those are the only two words for it that I can think of. But yeah, this is a special sort of place where once the survivors go down here, it's not impossible, but very costly for them to go back. Or, yeah, the only way they can go back over to that place once they're down here is either to jump over here, or this is kind of tricky to do, but okay, well, I just got it first try, but you can jump up here, but you have to like crouch at a certain moment or something. I don't exactly know how it works. I just kind of do it if I have to. If somebody's caught over there and you need to save them, you could also try standing on this. Might give you an angle to shoot. And if they end up over here, like it's a jockey or something, then you could shoot through this wall, perhaps. So it's often that you'll be fighting a tank that will be fought either like around here or over here. And both of these places are okay to take a tank, I guess. But they both have their drawbacks. This one is a little more closed in, so it's a little easier for the tank to catch up to you, but not by a whole lot. This one over here is a bit more open, but it also has a car that the tank can hit. There is a tiny possibility that a tank could get that car over into here. Ideally, you would come down from over there and then take it like that. And then this would be kind of bad for survivors. It'd be like you hit this into there, and it's pretty likely that they'll go down. But going over there also gives the survivors a chance to push up into here, and the rest of your team would probably not be ready for that, and they could go out here and, you know, get some more points at least. I mean, I don't know if I would say this is a better place to take a tank at, because there is another hittable right over there. So the reason people usually don't attack at the dumpster over there is because they want to attack here. When the survivors are going up these stairs, it can be very easy to attack them, especially Charger. Like if there's multiple of them on the stairs at the same time, it's really easy to hit multiple of them at once, and then a spitter can come here and spit down there and get a lot of damage. Although this kind of thing kind of messes with people. Like they think like the charge itself is like what makes this so good. It's not actually going to do a whole lot for your team if you're just going here all alone. People see how good this charge can be, and they kind of think like, oh, you have to charge on staircases. It's like the only thing that you can do as a charger, like ever. And then they start only charging on staircases throughout the rest of the map, and it's just kind of, those other places with staircases are just not nearly as good, and they just kind of pass up better places to attack. So then here we have the first real death drop. Once you go down here, there's not really any like real way to get back up, unless like a common is climbing up like here or something, and then you jump on its head and up to there. But don't count on that kind of thing. It's not really a good idea. You all need to be, the whole team needs to be careful. All try to go at the same time down the ledge. Don't delay unnecessarily. Once you're all ready, then just go. You can hang out on this little rail thing here, and you are very safe here. The most of the infected are not going to be able to reach you in time, and if you get smoked, you'll go like this, or you'll go along like that. Either way, you're easily saved by just your teammates shooting the tongue or the smoker. The infected will be trying to grab somebody and get them stuck like over here, or taking them back into here. And if I remember correctly, you can see, yeah, you should be able to see all the way back into there as a survivor and shoot off whoever is there. So if you do try to get somebody down over here, then you will probably need a spitter to help you out. The other thing is usually a smoker tries this. Stand in here and then smoke them back into here. Doesn't really work well with jockey though. Do not bother trying to smoke from up there. There's not really any point in that. Just do it in here all the time. It doesn't really work as well up there. If you do have a teammate that gets caught in here for whatever reason, then you can go and shoot them, shoot the infected through this wall, and save them. But you do need one of the higher power weapons for this wallbang. So I always try to have like a, a rifle or a pistol. Or a magnum. In general, when it comes to death drops, I like to boom them like from below, like after they drop down, because this might make whoever is up there a little hesitant about dropping down. That might make them reconsider if they want to go at that moment, so they can like try to clear that boomer, and that might help out. This is what they call a wall kick or a wall jump with a hunter. You aim kind of like this, and then you hold back into the wall, and you can go climb up it like this, or you can use this to go like sideways and stuff, and do things like that. If you land a pounce from all the way up here onto the survivors when they're here, that'll be a 25 damage pounce. After you drop down here, watch out for spawns up here. It's a pretty common thing. Gonna be like just about any infected can make a good attack up here, boomer especially. And then we have another staircase that can be kind of dangerous, but this one you can pretty safely dodge by jumping like that. And then you just kind of, on all these staircases, you just kind of avoid going in the middle.
Hello?
So that you don't get, charged and all that. If you get a tank in this area, you do have to be careful about that car because it is hittable. Getting a tank in this area can be kind of tricky for both sides. Either it goes really well or it goes really poorly. If you're coming up from here as tank, then it's not that good because survivors can just shoot you a bunch as you're approaching them, and you'll get shot a lot, and they can block you really well with a molly. Although you can walk along this fence to avoid fire, but if you do want to try to do that, you have to be careful when you're going up here, because if you're going up here and a fire is right there, then that will catch you on fire. The alternative for tank to going up there is to go over here, and you can go all around over here, by the way. And then the tank can either climb up from here, or they can go all the way over to here and go from this side. But regardless of how you do it, the survivors are going to be very aware of where you are. Your teammates are going to have to be ready to help out a lot. Gonna have to be waiting like around here or something, or yeah, that's pretty much it, really. More fences here, as you can see, so Spitter and Smoker can make some clever plays here sometimes. You would think that you'd be mostly safe in the gun shop, right? Well, actually there are two places that you have to be careful about. This can be somewhere that the infected can spawn, and around this corner here. As soon as you come in here, the corner is the main threat, really. Always come around here and push this button as soon as you can. There's no reason to delay pushing this button, because the faster you push it, the faster the door will open. There's always 4 health kits around here. So if you need to heal, and you very well might, then go ahead and heal up. There's always laser sights here. And usually people just go with AK and laser. You just boop, bloop, very easy. And then go on. There's all the pistols and stuff here. No melee weapons though. Sometimes there's like a pipe bomb or something over here. And if you get a tank here, or well, I guess really any infected, you should be aware that this door will not break until this door is opened. If you saw my video about microphones, you know this. The sounds in this area are kind of weird, so you might not hear somebody spawn over here and then they kind of attack you and you're like, what the heck? That guy's cheating, he is silent spawning. What? Yeah, that's all that is. I don't really recommend that you try to take a tank in here as survivors, because, you know, it's pretty cramped, but, you know, if you have to because you're that low on health, then it's probably your best bet. This wall can be wall banged from this side with the wood, but not from the other side with the concrete. It's pretty dumb. Usually there's more weapons in here, sometimes some other junk, but it's usually just junk. It's the Counter-Strike weapons. Oh boy, the op. Definitely a good gun. No sarcasm. This is another staircase that people kind of overrate. Probably the worst of them, I'd say, because there's just not really a whole lot else that the rest of your team can do when you're charging here. Like, they just can't really do a whole lot. Pretty much everybody's just going to have to funnel through here, and they're going to have to deal with you being in their way and stuff, and it's just not that good. The only really good thing there is Spitter. So then there's the whole cola event thing. You open the door. Yeah, you know this already. Wait, this is just general event advice, but just wait until your whole team is ready. If somebody's healing, just wait a minute, because starting an event when you're not ready is dumb. I don't know why I have to say this, but apparently I do. Usually infected won't bother trying to attack you in here, but they might. Yeah, they'll usually attack you from over here, so I like to go over this way and block those spawns, and then it's almost never a problem for me. It's really important that you don't take the cola over to here, because there's just no point in taking it over here. Just come out here like this and throw it over to there, and you can also shove it at the same time that you throw it to make it go a little farther. And then go over here and you pick it up from like here or here, and then throw it over to there. If you have teammates that are waiting like over here or something, then they can get the cola in a little faster. And then yeah, you just put it in here. So it usually doesn't come up, but sometimes you'll have a teammate who gets attacked in this area while you're in there, or you have a teammate in there who gets attacked while you're out here. It's not a very common thing, because just why would it be? But if you find yourself in that situation, you can shoot through these wood walls here, but be careful about this one, because there are wood like panel things on both sides of this wall, this part of the wall, and you can only penetrate one surface, not counting glass, with a single bullet. So you kind of have to shoot through these little like holes in the wall. It's very dumb. Don't really try to rely on that. You can also shoot through here. And this wall is also perfectly okay to shoot through. There's also one about like that, and that goes into the little... Wait. Okay. No, it's like here. And that goes into there. Also doesn't really come up, but good to know. I don't recommend that you hang out on this ledge when everybody else is over here, because a smoker could come back over here and like spawn there or something and then pull you down here, and it will take a long time to save you. So just don't do that. Sometimes people will do a thing where they shoot this shopping cart like this. I think you have to get it over this. Okay, I guess that'll do. Yeah, you just jump up like that, and that's one way that you can get around here faster. Usually people don't do that though. These these wooden boards can be broken by infected, and they can like pop out of there and surprise you. This is a bit of advice that applies in a lot of situations, but this one is like the first place in the game where it like really matters, so I guess I'll talk about it here. Not all booms are necessarily helpful. Imagine somebody is down here and another person's picking them up here. You would want in that situation to boom the person who is down, because if you boom the person that's picking up the person, then they're just going to pick him up for free. But if you boom the person who's down, then every time a common hits them, it resets the picking up meter. And you can do the same thing with, just yourself. You just scratch the person that's down. It has to be the person that's down. It cannot be the person that's picking them up. So that's one such scenario where that matters. And another that is common on this map is like a boomer just booms some random guy over here, and then the person who's taking the cola up, none of the commons are going to target them, right? So they can just come over here for free and bam, just put it in really easily, provided that nobody else is watching them. But it's always best to just boom whoever is over here. Commons will come over here, and whatever else the infected are doing, like jockeys grab them or something, the commons will just come over here and make that worse for them. Spawning up on that roof is common, and a common thing is for a spitter to wait like here or there, and then they spit on whoever is getting the cola in. But that's that's like a good thing, but unless there's like another infected that's coming in to grab that person as well, it doesn't actually make much of a difference, because the survivor can just jump up here and then get the cola in all the same. You can block some of the roof spawns by standing on this tree. They can still spawn over there, and obviously, but it blocks them a little bit, and it lets you shoot them sooner when they pop out. One thing that can be kind of annoying here is there's an invisible wall over this stuff here. If you're coming like from over here, and that might mess up your attack a bit. And another thing, if the cola is down somewhere and you're a boomer, one thing that you can do with yourself is like stand next to the cola, and when you explode, you'll push the cola out to like ideally like over there or something. Just another way to mess with the survivors. a tank in this area. That car is hittable, and so is that one. And if you really want to, I think, if I remember correctly, you can bring these two cars over to there, and maybe even these ones, but people don't usually do that. Takes too long, I guess. And you can also use those cars to attack survivors when they're over here. So that's nice. Oh yeah, and this car as well, if I'm pretty sure. Maybe this one, I think. You can also spawn along here when the survivors are around here. Up till there, apparently. If you get a tank over here, this tank is usually not terribly good. I mean, well, I guess it could be if you bring those cars, but I don't know. I don't really see that happen for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe those cars aren't hittable. I don't know. But there is one sneaky thing. There's a ladder here for infected. They can climb here and up to there. And maybe they can get some kind of clever spawn up here. You might not be expecting that. And then in here, once the survivors are here, there's pretty much nothing that the infected can do. Not a whole lot. Usually, if the infected do anything meaningful around this area, it's going to be up here, right next to the end. Just spawn up here, and then do whatever. But it usually doesn't turn into anything. So here we have some more walls that are a bit problematic. You might think, well, what's the problem with these? You cannot shoot through these doors. And same for the next map, you cannot shoot through these doors with the glass. You might think that's kind of weird, because earlier I said you can shoot through glass as many times as you want, so what's the problem? This would only really count as like one wall penetrated, right? No, because you see, these doors are not actually marked correctly as glass. They count as metal. So you can only shoot through these parts on the end.
Don't make me come out there for you. Hello?
Oh my god, shut up, Nick. Most of this map is pretty straightforward. Plenty of things can be waiting around, like here and here. Here, I think. Here. Here and there. As infected, hitting in like this area, like right as they're coming out, is not really worth trying at all, honestly. Which is why. Oh, and around in here, there can also be some stuff. The first, like, actually good place to attack as infected is here, and that's pretty much going to be a theme. Like, really the only good places to attack in this map are places with verticality, like, because you can just kind of drop down. Wah-rah. There just aren't that many other good places to spawn. There's stuff here, stuff all around, stuff there, and there, and there. There will always be a pistol spawn here, so you can always leave this place with something at least. Let's talk again about gratings. Okay, so this could be useful, like if you come here as a smoker, then you can smoke somebody who's like taking a bit too long over here, or maybe if there's a tank and the survivors are distracted and they're coming by here, you could get somebody maybe. Charging survivors off of the ledges like this can be very good, but only the glass that does not have these wood bar things, you can actually just crash straight on through. In order to crash through one of these with the wooden bars, you either have to, you just have to break the thing. And that could happen sometimes, like if a survivor just accidentally shoots it while they're trying to do something else or whatever. Or maybe like a boomer breaks it. But not very reliable. And this is another decent place to attack, because, you know, you can drop down. You get the idea. What is that? Is that always there? I've never seen that.
Hey, some guns here.
There's always some decent weapon here, in case you need to pick up more ammo. There's stuff around here sometimes. There's a pipe bomb over there. If a tank spawns, like up here or over in here, like this tank, usually people will go and wait and camp around like here. The infected cannot do too much to the survivors when they're just camping over here, and the tank will try to like throw some rocks over these booth things. How does that hit you? Wait, whoa. If we're done with stupid shit, I just want to demonstrate a rock throw. My gosh. Yeah, something like that is what you'll be doing here a lot as tank while you're waiting for your team to get ready. If the survivors try to push up on you to like here or something, you can try to throw a rock at them while they're peeking out and stuff, but they'll probably notice that you're about to throw a rock, and then they'll come back to here. And there is something that you can do about that because of just the nature of this cover, the way it's shaped. You throw a rock, and then they back up to over there, and that's when you hit them over there. It's very simple. Tricks people often. Sometimes the survivors will back up all the way back over to here, which is it's a bit better for them, I would say, because when you're a tank, you only have two ways up here, and you have to spend a long time exposed on these escalators. You can't really do anything to hit them in that time. One thing that you can do in a place like this as a tank, this applies to a lot of places in the map, but I guess I'll talk about it here. Wait for a survivor to get trapped like near a ledge, or just try to like punch them off directly. Yeah. Like imagine there's a survivor here, just bam, and then they fall down, and hopefully they'll take some good fall damage. They might land on the other escalator, and then I bet that would be bad. That would they would probably not take much damage from that. So try to aim them like into these far corners over here and here, so that they take the most damage that they might possibly take. They fall as far as they might. If you take a tank in this place, one thing that you might do is stand up here, because this will let you block a lot of spawns at once. So here we have another place where you can get overhead spawns. A charger down this escalator is a very common thing, and if the survivors are not really thinking about it, then you can nail them really easily. But if you want to avoid this, then you can just go over here and onto this escalator, and that's usually completely safe. Over here, there can be some nice stuff. A lot of people just don't know about this or something. They just kind of run right past it, and they really shouldn't. It can be good to check that. And then here we have a bit of a mini death drop. Yeah. Once you go back down there, you can't jump back up here. So be careful about this. Make sure everybody is getting over this. You can stand here to sort of get out of the way, but also watch your teammates. Make sure they're not getting pulled and stuff. But usually this one doesn't come into play. If it does, you can shove this chair around, or you can shoot it, preferably with a shotgun or with a melee weapon, whatever you have. If somebody on the team has like a shotgun or something, then let them handle it. If you have a sniper like me, you can't really move it too far. At least like try to like back up. Don't like hog the chair, you know, like let whoever is most equipped to move it just do it. See, a sniper rifle is horrible for this. But anyway, you push this over here, and then you can get back up out here. So around when the survivors get to like around here-ish, in campaign, the game makes a decision about where you're going to go next. There's a shorter path going this way, and then a longer path down that way. But in versus, you will always get the shorter path going that way. If you happen to be here as like a tank or something, when this vending machine is put into place, it will kill you as anything, even as tank. So just don't be standing there. If you get a tank like between the glass over there and here, put the chair over here so you can jump back into here, and then it's a lot easier to fight a tank in this area. Be careful though that at a certain point this glass becomes actually breakable. I don't know exactly when that happens. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know exactly when that trigger is hit, but it is at some point. So yeah, be careful that you, if you're shooting something over here for some reason, make sure you don't hit that glass, because that will start the event. Although I'm not sure. I think like the zombies don't actually start spawning from this until you go out to like really close to the glass over there or something. I don't know. And I think, yeah, the fact that you don't see the escalator here means, if I remember correctly, that you can't shoot the glass yet. But if you see the escalator there, then that means the glass is on. This is a potential place that the infected might spawn, and they have a little ladder here for that. Always be careful that you don't shoot this glass until you actually intend to go out. If you get a tank on the other side of this glass and the glass is not broken yet, you can go up into here and crawl through there to get out to that, and then you can drop down and do whatever. It's very common that there will be a charger waiting at the top of this escalator, Not very surprising at this point, huh? Some people just do a charge like straight down here and into there. I don't really like that. Like it's okay, but there is a better thing that you can try, which is going like this and then charge as somebody's coming up here, take them off over to here and down there, and they'll usually die from that. It's not very easy to save somebody who ends up down in this area. There can also be a smoker around like here or here who will grab somebody from here and they'll pull them, and usually they will fall all the way down over to there, and if you try to save them from that smoker, then they, for whatever reason, they take way more fall damage than you would think, and usually they just instantly die from that. And because of that, I would say if you get somebody caught by that smoker, don't bother shooting the tongue or anything. Just walk on. If you shoot the smoker tongue and all that, then the smoker gets free from that, and he can respawn or do whatever sooner than he otherwise would if he actually had to wait there to fully choke out that survivor. I like to come over to here, and even if the smoker is not spawned yet, I like to throw whatever thing I have in my third slot, just bile, fire, even a pipe bomb, whatever it is, and throw it up into there where that smoker would usually spawn, because any of those things might mess up a smoker's pull. Even a pipe bomb could like stumble them a bit. One possible charge is from here, take somebody out here and all the way down there, and they're pretty hard to save. Spitter can also be very good in this area to prevent them from hitting the button. Usually there's like a defib around here or something. You can go back to like down here and stuff, but a lot of people don't really realize the fastest way to get down there is to just go like this, and yeah, that's it. You just go over to here and then pick up or defib whoever's over here. The spawns for infected in this place are not that amazing. There's this, which is the longer way that I was mentioning before. This is where you come out from that. Sometimes there'll be a tank around like here all the way down to like that little hallway area, and you know, usually the response to that is to back up over into this area. There's not too many places that the infected can spawn around here. They'll usually just have to like spawn down here and then climb up one of the ladders that's only for infected. One thing that you could do if you get smoker is run all the way around here. Boop, boop, boop.
No one's alive in here.
Takes a very long time. But you can come around to here and then smoke somebody who's waiting like around here or something, and that will catch them very much off guard. Nobody is looking out for this. So then obviously we have another place with verticality and
That escalator.
another charger down here, pretty common. There can be spawns here and here,
Looks like
getting
people headed this
charged
way.
down to here or here. This whole area sometimes happens. Not too common. If you're worried about those spawns, you can have somebody stand over here, and then yeah, blocks those pretty much. Some people go over on this, over to here, but I don't. Yeah, it's not the best idea. I really don't recommend going over on that little thing there. Just come around like normal. The other teammates, by the time they're there, they'll protect you from these spawns. And there can also be spawns back here. And
Anybody hear me?
possibly back in here can be somewhere to spawn. And final thing for this map, I don't know why I have to tell people this, but don't just stand over here like looking out at everything for no reason. I don't know why people do this, but they do. They just stand here like, oh, and they're just wasting time, letting themselves get hit for no real reason. And when people do this, I like to kind of punish them. I will wait down here with Smoker, waiting for them to go to the silly spot that they shouldn't go to, and then I just pull them down, probably all the way into there,
Hello?
which their team will not be happy about. So let's take a look down here. Your options for getting out of here are either this escalator or this ladder. But it almost never comes up. Don't worry about it. Alright, and finally for the last map, there will always be 2 melee weapons, so I recommend you take both of those. You should know that there can be a tank that spawns before you reach the elevator. Yes, that is a thing that can happen. Yes, don't spend 10 seconds typing, freaking out about it. Just get ready for it. People have some very interesting ideas about how to take this tank, but I'm just going to show you what they do in competitive games. You go back to here, and well, you wouldn't do this with a shotgun, but yeah, get one of the rifles. You wait here for the tank to come in, and you just shoot whoever you see. I want to try getting on the door, because that's, yeah, it's a little funny spot. And you can stand on this, and not on those, apparently. And remember, crouch for better accuracy and all that. When the tank's coming down this way, you just shoot it. If the tank will probably like go into here for a minute, then pop back out. In that time, you should run back into the spawn room, because if the tank catches you in here, then you're in a lot of trouble. So yeah, just run back into here and then shoot the tank up a bunch. And use melee weapons, I guess. Some people will try to run to the elevator instead. And I don't really think that's a good idea, because like, just look at this area that you have to walk through. It's tight corridor, spawns over there, another tight corridor thingy, spawns there. Could be a spawn in here, I think. So yeah, it's not a great idea in my opinion. And yeah, if people try to rush out here like that, those are the places where I would say you should spawn. There's a ladder on the other side of this. This could also, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this, but you could spawn back here when there's a tank coming. So the tank will spawn down on the floor somewhere like this, and it's kind of confusing how you get up there, right? Don't take that ladder, that's useless. That's pretty much useless. Take one of these two. Either one will work fine. You just go up to the top floor and then you drop down onto here. And yeah. Pretty simple, but a lot of new players don't know about it. Oh, and you can also take that ladder up there. Basically the point is just get up to the top floor and then, yeah. There can be a witch that spawns right at the where the elevator opens up. The easiest way to deal with that witch is to shoot it through this wall and then just run into the elevator. You don't have to actually kill it, because once you all go in the elevator and you close the door, then the witch it doesn't know how to get to you, so it just kind of just runs away and never does anything again. Which is very smart. So same as the elevator from the first map, everybody who is alive has to be in the elevator for it to actually activate. Even if they're down, you have to go and pick them up, so don't abandon your teammates like a dummy. Something is kind of weird about this glass, and for some reason, if you shoot a boomer through this glass, the explosion from the boomer will actually go through and it will boom you, so do not shoot boomers that you see on the side here. And again, like the first elevator, spit can cover this entire room, so I prefer to just run out, light that can on fire, and then just run out. It's better to run through that fire than stay in here with spit. Fire is kind of like the survivor's version of spit, sort of. Like, it does very little damage to them, but for the infected it's much more deadly, and the kind of the inverse is true of spit. And then those firecrackers on Dark Carnival are kind of bad for both teams. For infected, you treat this elevator mostly like you would on the first map. Spit in this, like right here-ish. There is one funny thing you can do here. As a smoker, you can stand over here and smoke somebody through these plants. Sometimes that can really mess with people. Like if everybody gets boomed and you pull one out of there and nobody notices, you can keep them here for a very long time. If you have a spitter, the spitter should stand here and spit into this. And I know this sounds weird, but when the spitter dies, it will create a little puddle here, right? And if you smoke somebody from out here, and then, well, they'll get stuck right here in that spit. So yeah, that's just a thing I've picked up playing this over and over. There are certain cans that you can shoot to help you out. It's better to shoot them than immediately put them in. This is one of them. This will kill a lot of commons without you having to worry about it at all. These up here can sometimes catch infected off guard, like a smoker there maybe, or if there's a tank trying to throw a rock out of that place. And you can also shoot this can through here. And these cans that I'm talking about here, these are like the easiest cans that you can get, so it's perfectly fine to like save them for later. You can, you know, you don't have to go very far, and it's not like that one. So save them until like the end, or if your team's not looking so good, like you have one person dead and everybody's on low health or something like that, then go and get these in, because it might be the only cans you get in past that point. A spitter can spit on cans that have been picked up at least once, which you can see the difference between that because this can has an orange outline now that I've picked it up and dropped it. And yeah, if this sits in spit for a few seconds, then it'll break open like it would if you shot it. that can be something that Spitter can do to annoy people, but it's not really that good to spend a spit only breaking one can. It has to be like at least, like 2 at least. Otherwise, it's pretty hard to justify that. Spitter can be used for, other things, One trick that I've heard of is that you can drop a can, if you have one, to block a smoker tongue. Not really sure how consistent that is. So this right here is a majorly dangerous place that a lot of people don't really realize is that dangerous at first. Yeah, a charger can spawn like up here, and then if there's 2 or more people on this stairway at the same time, charger charges in and hits one, and anyone else who's in the way goes flying off somewhere around here, and they're instantly dead. So the way you deal with this is very simple. You just wait here for somebody else to go up first, and then if the charger comes, you shoot them. In here and out there, there are these little glass windows that you can break and jump down through. It's generally not a good idea to take a tank in this place, but sometimes you're caught off guard, like maybe, I don't know, like maybe you have people right here and a tank just happens to spawn right there or something. I don't know if that can actually happen, but you get the idea. Yeah, you can... How many tanks are gonna spawn? Anyway, if that happens to you, the best thing that you can do is just drop down there and then just run out into the open. There is a little bit of a meme strat that you can do where you lure a tank onto this glass, and then you shoot out the glass while the tank is over it, and then he drops down, and then he has no easy way to get back up to you. And that's... well, no, he does have this. It's a little funny though. But yeah, I don't really recommend that. Just go down here, out to here, and then for fighting tanks on this map, wait around here. So this place is like where you're the most safe from rocks, or in here, or you can try waiting over here. I don't really like this quite as much. And well, this is kind of just a general tank strategy, but people don't really know this, and I guess it's kind of very relevant here actually. So let's just say that you know how tank has that the meter for attacking you, right? And you know, the thing that says you have to attack the survivors or you lose control of the tank, right? And the only way to refill that bar is to hit people, right? Either with a rock or a melee. Well, most people don't realize that the way that bar decreases is by the tank not being able to see survivors. So if you try to wait in like somewhere like here, where if a tank's like up there or something, which is pretty common, if you're just in here, then the tank can't see you. So yeah, that's good. And if you completely deplete the meter for that 2 times, you know, for the first time it passes the tank over to somebody else, and then the second time the tank switches to a bot, and then a bot tank is a lot easier to kill. When you're infected, you can hit a survivor to reset their progress on the cans here. If I remember correctly, that does not apply to the cola on the second map.
Filling it up
So,
here.
yeah. There can be a bunch of stuff here. A melee weapon, pipe bombs apparently. There can also be bile, I think, and maybe Molotovs, I'm not sure if I remember correctly. There's always a defib here, and of course 2 cans. There is a fast way to get down from here. You break this glass, then come down here, and then you break this, and you jump onto this. But be careful that you know, like you actually know how to do your movement. Don't just kind of. Anyway, as I was saying, there's a thing that you can do where you jump and then you hold down the space button and you just wait a second, and then you will never get hung on a ledge like that, like I did before there. The reason that it hangs you on the ledge there normally is because it thinks that you're going to fall to your death based on what direction it looks like you're going to go in, but it doesn't account for like you know, how you would like change directions in the air. It's kind of silly. Anyway, for this one, you do not want to just jump off of here like this, because then you'll take a bunch of fall damage. You have to back up and build up some speed in order to land on this.
I got these pills.
Infected waiting at the car for somebody to pour a can in, and then you grab them and do whatever. That's a pretty common thing, so watch out for that. There are many places on this map where there can be like little clusters of healing items and throwables. Like here, for instance. Yeah, like look at all this. That's pretty good. And in fact, you can see one such place when you're coming down here on that bench. If there's you know, a little cluster of items there, then you'll see the outline from here. Most walls in this map, well, not the ceilings and floors at least, but most of the walls specifically in this map are very thin, and you can wallbang people or things through them, as I kind of already showed earlier. But yeah, they can be a useful way to save people. Like if you're over here and somebody gets caught, and just shoot them through this wall. So I think the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit about how you should go about getting your cans. Like how many, like where, who goes where and stuff, you know? So obviously somebody, at least one person, has to go up to get cans from different places, but having 3 people waiting here and with one person going out there is just not a reasonable thing to do. Don't do that. It's just kind of dumb. Having 2 and 2 is not really that good either, because if one group gets 2 capped, then everything's just gonna go to hell, pretty much. It's don't get 2 capped forehead is not really a winning strategy. And you could go 1 person here and 3 people up there, and that is okay, I think. But obviously the 1 person down here is going to become a target for the infected. So if you do that, the 3 people who are going around up here or in wherever, they need to be able to help that person out quickly. They need to pay attention to when that person is getting attacked. If you're over here and you hear someone calling for help or whatever, and listen not just like in game chat, but also like for their voice lines, like you know, when Nick or coach or whoever is calling for help, and they're saying, "Ah," all that. And then you just, go out to wherever and save them. That kind of thing makes it usually the best to stick with long range on this map. Yeah, there's not really much reason for a shotgun on this map. Also, don't just like run away from your team and assume that they have long range. Like, at least, like, check out their character model and see if they're holding a long range gun or they have it on their back. What the fuck are you two doing? And finally, you could just send all 4 people up to wherever at the same time. The thing about that is when you're sending cans down below, you need to be careful about where you throw them, because if nobody's paying attention, then a spitter can just light all of your cans on fire really easily, and it's just very annoying. Like even that, if a spitter hit like right there, both of those cans would probably break. So yeah, you need to be conscious about spreading them out to different places. Yeah, you get the idea. And finally, what order do you want to get cans in? Well, it depends on a few things. The first thing that you should realize here is that as you go on longer and longer through a map, it becomes harder and harder for you to do anything, right? Because you have less health, and less health means you'll move slower, and you'll have like less ammo, less throwables and whatever, less pills, all that. So generally, doing anything in a map becomes harder over time, right? And there are also some cans that are harder to retrieve than others. Like as I said earlier, like that's an easy can, that's easy. Those ones over there are not too hard. The most difficult ones that cause the most problems usually are ones there and there. So here's what I think about this. I kind of already said it earlier, but save the easy cans for later, because when you don't have many resources and you have lower health, then I would say that getting an easy can is like as hard as it is to get a harder can when you do have more resources. Well, it's not the exact same, but like the alternative to this though is waiting until you're on like 30 health and you want to go and get that can. That just doesn't really work out very well. So I say go for the harder cans first. But also it also depends on the score that you need to get. Like if it's a situation where you only need like a few cans to win, like you're winning by like 700 as you're coming into the first half of the map or something, then all you need to get is like 3 cans or whatever. You just pop that in and pop those in, then you pretty much just instantly win or something like that, Or maybe if it's like a very close game, you might go for the easy cans first, but yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that'll be enough. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.